Welcome back, everybody, to the Marketing Essentials podcast series. I'm honored to be your host today, Costa Tranafilou from SAP Marketing Solutions. Today, I'm honored and ecstatic to be joined alongside a powerhouse A-list panel with Payal joining us from Eversys, Ratul Shah joining us as the lead of product marketing from SAP Customer Data Solutions, and the wonderful Lisa James joining us again from SAP Commerce Cloud. Everyone, how are you doing today?
Doing really good, Costa. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Fantastic. Let's dive into it. We've got a really important topic to talk about today, and that is the changing shopper's mindset. 2020 took the shopper and flipped them on their head, took brands and flipped them on their head as well, right? We saw a dramatic shift to online physical stores and shopping traffic dying off a little bit. We've seen challenges in the supply chain, challenges in fulfillment. We've seen some brands drop revenue, but we've seen some brands, for example, like NVIDIA, a massive technology manufacturer in the video game space, see higher revenues of $80 billion last year. Payal, a lot of things rocking the retail world here in 2021, but what do you see as some of the key trends here shaping up this commerce shopping experience, and how are marketers facing that challenge?
Thanks for having me, Costa. It's great to be here. And this massive shift to online also meant that there's a really big increase in new customers buying from a brand via digital channels for the first time. And if we look at how customer behavior has changed in the last year, what they're actually doing, what they're watching is impacting what they're browsing and what they're buying from brands. So in the last year, if we take, for example, women's fashion wear has dramatically changed now, where people are looking to dress down because they're actually at home. And then if you look at another category, such as electrical appliances like washing machines, fridges and freezers, which would have typically been bought in large format stores like Currys in the UK or MediaMart in Europe and Best Buy in the US. But these were bought online and through services like virtual agents, chatbots, augmented reality, and they were helping to keep that online trend going because people are engaging with these kind of services and they're finding them easy to use. And products such as lawnmowers or barbecue grills and washing machines, they actually saw a 150% increase in sales year over year. And this type of product as a customer, you don't actually expect to buy over and over again, but you expect to buy maybe the accessories and the services that go around it. And consumer products brands such as Puma, New Balance, Nike, Charlotte Tilbury, Adidas, and even Tupperware have seen a really big increase in their customers engaging with their direct-to-consumer activities. And they're all investing in these digital and mobile-first customer strategies to grow that engagement in channels that their customers are now actually used to. And over the last few in the last year, we've actually seen many large and heritage retail brands being acquired by online-only businesses, such as Debenhams in the UK, Boohoo, and alternatively John Lewis in the UK and Macy's in the US, looking to reduce their footprint to fewer and better stores. But if we have a look at this shift between online and stores, even e-commerce, which is at peak now at 30% of total retail sales, globally, that still means that 70% of total retail sales still happens in physical stores. And Emarsys research has shown that 74% of customers still prefer to shop in a physical store. And they like to browse different products, return products previously bought online, or just go and meet people and shop together. And that 70% of store sales is actually being driven by digital channels now, and primarily through mobile apps and mobile devices, where now almost 51% of customers are completing their discovery to purchase journey via a mobile device. So the rise in mobile and the rise in mobile apps is actually bridging that gap between online and in-store. And channels such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp, Snapchat, they're all part of the experience a customer has with the brand. And with this influx of new customers using mobile and social channels to shop, it also means they have more choice now than ever before. And browsing different websites, they're visiting different stores, they're downloading new apps. It's almost like a new hobby and a time pass to be doing these things with today's customers. But when they're ready to buy something, their demands are much higher now. And when they research online or they place an order, or either when they place an order online and have it, they expect it to be shipped the same day, or to have that option of being able to collect it in store. And even going into store, when they're actually in that store, they want to buy it right there and then. And they expect that store staff to know who they are and tailor that experience and service especially for them. And what this means as a marketer at a retail brand is they have more data on these customers, and they're able to use this data to help them understand who their new and active customers are, and which customers return their products more often, and what the value of a new customer is versus a loyal customer. So how marketers can really adapt to this change and drive repeat purchase is to treat these customers differently, stay relevant to them across their preferred channels, and react to them in the moment they're engaging with their brand with an offer and a personalized message that's contextually relevant to each and every customer.
Some fantastic points there. And I think there's two key words that I picked up there that I kind of want to echo and use as a segue to ask you a question, Ratul. And those two words there were choice and data. And I think a choose your own adventure. And I think about the amounts of data that brands may or may not be collecting about these consumers. We all know, the cost of acquiring a new customer versus retaining a new customer. It's 5-to-1. We want to try and drive repeat purchases from our loyalty and advocate base as much as we possibly can. It's a difficult thing to do, though, right? We send the wrong message, wrong channel, wrong time, and all of a sudden you've alienated a large group of people. So Ratul, I suppose, what's the role between customer data and driving the most efficient repeat purchases or loyalty with your customer base?
Absolutely. Thanks, Costa, for having me. I mean, Payal touched on a lot of interesting points. I think the rise of digital in the past year, and it's still, as fast as it grew, is still blanked by the physical retailer. We talked about the different types of retailers that are coming up, the experiences they're driving, the long tail of channels. I mean, I think about when I was a kid having 3 channels of TV to discover a product, and now you have to find your audience across not just TV, radio, and other former digital channels, as they called it, but now all of the new explosions, that long tail, and then of course all of the ways in which the customers can learn from you. And so as you talked about, Costa, that infinite choice. As soon as an experience is broken in the unknown world, the reality becomes we're all hitting a search engine or another app to find the product or service we want at a different price, because we know, as everyone talks about customer experiences the way forward, that's also really interesting to think about. What does that really mean? Personalization is a hot buzzword, but what does that actually mean? And when we think about how services, experiences, personalization, they're all perceived by us differently. We have a big part, and we being the customer, we own the experience and we own our own data. And how a business understands who we are and how we want to be treated is the relationship that they have with us to get that information in a seamless way, in a transparent way, and then using that across all of the channels. So as we think about the digital world, well, a lot of us had to shut down our physical stores and move information into the digital world to still have that communication. The businesses and brands that did that the best, to be able to bridge that gap around the customer to make those experiences better and easier, are the ones that we're seeing and talking about. Payal mentioned a ton of those earlier. In addition to that, while we all looked at apps, and I think everyone on this call probably primarily shops on their mobile device through apps, that doesn't represent the broadest spectrum of our demographic. I still remember calls from my dad asking me to help set him up, but then in reality, to actually close the deals, he was picking up the phone a lot and calling into a call center to speak to someone to help them co-shop, help them pick products matching, check statuses. And a lot of this stuff, because of the asynchronous nature of how these systems are configured, you get great recommendations in the app, you get great recommendations in the email, and the call center agent has no idea what you're talking about. The chatbot, while interesting, has no recollection of a previous order. So the first 5 minutes of interacting with them, with it, I will say, is just trying to discover what you're calling about, the relative information around who you are, what you're doing, the context of what you maybe experiences is all lost on the other channels. So as you think about it, personalization really needs to balance across the enterprise. You need to balance it across the channels. It's not an easy thing to do, but it starts with a customer data foundation. You have to know who they are, how they want to be treated, make that data available in real time, and make sure that you as a business, when you think about customer centricity, what does that mean? It means starting with their data, but it means starting with the relationship on the right foot and being very transparent with them up front about why you need it, how you're going to use it, and using the word, I want to use your data to personalize is probably something that should die the way of the third-party cookie.
Lisa, so much information that was just shared there between Ratul and Payal on comments around data, on some fantastic brand names that were mentioned there as well, on bringing all of this together. That's a challenge, though. And we can talk about this conceptually and theoretically around how important data is and how important it is for us to leverage these channels and push the right message out at the right time. Delivering that internally to our customers and implementing that as a brand, though, is a challenge. So where do we start as brands on delivering this better experience that all these consumers are now demanding?
First off, I want to say it's interesting because we always talk about, digital and online almost as these are just two avenues, but they're so multifaceted. If we see the way that in-store transformed, right? It's no longer just going in store. Now, as both Ratul and Payal mentioned, there's curbside pickup or click and collect. We're seeing a lot of brands doing delivery that have never done delivery before, or they're investing more in store on self-service options to do social distancing. And if we think of online, it's not just people going on their laptop and, searching something. We are seeing this, to reiterate, this explosion of mobile. And I'll say as part of the millennial cohort, I was part of the community that led the brand in digital, but I was never really a huge mobile shopper. I was a huge abandoned cart shopper in mobile. I would search on mobile, but the second I would need to put my credit card information in, it wasn't going to happen, right? But we're seeing brands now move to more mobile wallets, right? If it's PayPal, one click, there, they got me. If we're looking, we talked a little bit about social, but it's more than just brands putting ads on social and then, okay, you click that social ad and then you go into their storefront. But we're seeing more brands now investing in social commerce and creating the full end-to-end experience within Instagram, for example. And if we're even a little more future thinking, there's all these things that are happening with voice optimization, and people are, replenishing their purchases, just telling their Alexa that, I need shampoo, add that to cart. So what we're seeing is all these different channel explosions, but for most brands, they're still operating all these areas like separate entities, right? And that can be fine, but your customers can't feel that. You can't feel that disconnect. So it's really important to not just invest in these channels, but ensure, going off of what Ratul is saying, having this unified experience so that no matter if the customer is going in store, right, or using either going through an aisle and talking to someone, using self-checkout, right, doing curbside pickup, or if they're going online in their laptop, in a mobile app, doing social, that they're not constantly having to repeat themselves. They're not constantly having to input their preferences. That customers, that brands know their customers, they know where they're interacting, and they're able, in a consented way, to track and personalize that experience end to end. And it's about, I'll reiterate this, it's about investing in that customer experience from beginning to end.
Lisa, you made some great, sorry, Costa, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, you made some great points, and I don't envy the brands. I mean, it is a real challenge that you have these, on one side, you have agility, and you have what customers are demanding and how fast we are. There's a new social channel that seems to pop up for a different demographic, and all of a sudden the brand, some CEOs asking someone, hey, are we on XYZ, platform, and attracting the audience there? It's really difficult. And if you don't have that foundation, you end up, having a few developers create an application or an integration to go out, and it breaks the experience. And that's a lot of what happens here, is that the speed at which humanity's moving brands forward on the balance of the operational efficiency in which they have to deliver. I mean, Payal made the comment earlier, a lot of these companies went digital, but the supply chain fell apart. Well, I had to wait for a washer and dryer, and I basically flipped my choice because I didn't want to wait 6 to 8 months for a product, and I picked what was available. It was a poor experience. I won't go back to it, but that's what happened.
I share an interesting statistic that actually comes to the top of my mind, and it's a relative statistic to what I said earlier on the cost of acquisition for a customer, right? Retaining versus acquiring a new one. That same statistic can actually be flipped on its head and used to share the chances of winning back a customer once you've lost them. And that is the same. It's less than 20% of winning back a customer once you've alienated them. And you're going to put all your apples in a basket trying to get them back. But once that negative sentiment comes through, it's almost a stamp that you cannot erase off of some consumers' mindsets. And it really has exasperated as a result of 2020 and a result of things that happened last year. Thank you very much here. I just do want to wrap things up here with a quick 1-minute question to each person here about a good or bad example that you've actually seen in your dealings with one of your favorite brands. And I kind of want to start with you, Lisa. Any examples of something that was a win or a loss for you in terms of brand engagement?
Yeah, so I'm a huge online shopper, and as we mentioned, there were a lot of pressures on supply chains. There were a lot of delays on delivery. There was a lot of lost packages, and so I buy a lot of things off of Etsy, and I think it's interesting because it's a marketplace. So there's all these different vendors together, and I have this experience on 3 vendors, 3 lost packages, and I'll go through it really quickly because it was 3 very different experiences. One vendor, I had the package was lost, but they had in their shop that once you get the USPS like shipping, it's out of their hands, right? So that was gone. Another vendor, the package was lost. They said, we'll ship you a new one, but if the first one comes, return it. Okay, fine. Then I had this other vendor, and I bought these crocheted, Ratul, you'll get a kick out of this. They were crocheted Yoda ear hats. And this vendor, the package was lost, and she reached out to me. She's like, I noticed this package is lost. I don't want you to have to wait. I'm already sending you a new one. It's in the mail today. And then I said, okay, if the new package comes, do you want me to ship, if the original package comes, do you want me to ship it back? And she was like, nope, just pay it forward. So, and both packages ended up coming. So Ratul, you might get a crocheted Yoda ear, just FYI. But me, again, who's a huge Etsy vendor, I've probably had 100, worked with 100 different shops there. What is the experience that's standing out? This one vendor who just went above and beyond. And I think it was also just an interesting case study on how the experience doesn't end at checkout, right? And when brands go that extra step, that's really how they are building loyalty.
Ratul, hit or miss for you?
Lisa, you stole my Etsy example with how great the experiences are pushed. We ordered some masks for my daughter that had the Harry Potter on it, and the pattern just wasn't quite right. We took a picture of it, and of course, instead, she just sent us 10 new masks. So word of mouth, we helped spread her piece, but I will give you another one. So Amazon, as we all know and love, everyone likes to say they have the best experiences. Interestingly enough, during the holidays, I don't think they could keep up as well as they thought. So a lot of packages did get lost. And an odd mix here. We had some packages delivered to people that said were lost. And interestingly enough, they were delivered a week before they said they were lost. So that was kind of odd. I had ordered my wife a Harry Potter collector's set of the hardback books. That got lost 3 different times. So I finally got those in March. Last week.
Yeah, I'd say anything that's leveraging the mail system, in particular USPS, is definitely something that has been challenged over the last year.
The challenge for me, Acosta, was that their system of notifications were out. So I'll take the physical piece of it but don't tell me it's lost when it got there, or don't tell me it's got there and it's been lost 3 times.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes back to that first question that I was asking Payal around supply chain and the issues that have been happening in 2020 around fulfillment. I'm going to just come back to you, Payal. One little question to you. Give us an example of your go, no go that you've received from a brand.
My absolute go is from a homegrown British brand called Gymshark. I was telling Ratul earlier that my new hobby is boxing, kickboxing, and Gymshark sell sportswear, and their philosophy is building a loyal community. So when I actually shopped with Gymshark for the first time, they were so nice in their communications. They didn't want to sell anything to me, but they were rather interested in what my interests were, what my behaviors were, why I wanted to buy something. And that simple experience right there just made me buy like 4 different things, and made me quickly check out my cart very, very quickly, because they made the shopping experience so easy, so insightful for me. And since then, my post-purchase experience has been amazing. They recommend products exactly to what my interests and what my behaviors are, but their emails to me, the communications to me are so simple. They're engaging. It's according to my likes and my dislikes and my interests, and they engage me based on what my hobbies are. And that's true to their philosophy of building a loyal community. And I'm very proud to say that I'm a loyal Gymshark member.
There's definitely some brands that excel at driving that customer loyalty and advocacy. And myself, I'm going to actually say that I'm a big fan of Google. And for one reason, they now allow me to basically buy something from a browser with just my Touch ID on my laptop. You know, I can actually hook up my Apple Pay and everything directly from my finger touch on my MacBook and buy something from almost any commercial online brand site. And that definitely for me is a massive experience change, and that allows me to now trust Google. It's completely secure, it's tied to my Touch ID, and I know that no one's going to be able to access it. Thank you very much again, everyone who's joined us today. We are out of time. Thank you again to our guests, Payal, Ratul, and Lisa. We're ecstatic to have you, and we would be honored to have you back on our show again in the future.
Thanks, Costa, for having us.
Thank you, Costa.
Thank you again, everyone. And please join us again April 6th, same time, for our next live stream series. Take care and have a great day.